On this Saturday edition of Locked On Cavs, the Cavs did not get it done against the Golden State Warriors, who didn't have Curry and Clay and Draymond and other people. We'll talk about that loss on this episode.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
All right, the music on the way in is from our friends at Astro Radio. Chris Manning and Evan Dammarell here for the Saturday Locked On Cavs. Thanks again to Jake Stevens for producing this one. This is a YouTube-only 10-minute or so episode on the Cavs loss to the Warriors. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're not already. You may be listening to this on Monday, but we're going to be doing these only up on Saturday on the YouTube page. You can subscribe to help us get up to 3,000 and be on. Evan, Cavs lose to the Golden State Warriors in a game that they kind of did come back in, but were down by double digits for large chunks of this game. The final score is 120-114. Again, no Steph Curry for Golden State, no Klay Thompson, no Draymond Green. They start kind of the guys that don't play a ton, play guys who don't play a ton in this game. Some of the things said post game include JB Bickerstaff saying that the energy wasn't there, that they would kind of betrayed the game. You had Karis LeVert saying, "I don't think we answered the bell tonight." You have Darius Garland saying, "We didn't play our best. We didn't play our." Bickerstaff says, "We got what we deserved." I'm very Evan. I can't help but disagree with him. Like, it feels like the Cavs kind of got what they deserved in a lot of ways. Yes, the Warriors got really hot from three and all that stuff, but there's stuff that is under the Cavs' control, I think, that really contributed to this loss.
This is a very frustrating too for JP Bickerstaff. You had that timeout in your back pocket against the Grizzlies the other day, and you had questioned the validity of the call on Jared Allen, and then you watched your team just super flat and just get crushed by the Warriors reserves. And like you said, guys that are on two-way contracts that are making serious contributions to this Warriors squad. For context, they as in Golden State were 14-23 from three-point range, and a lot of it at first was Cleveland just kind of giving those open looks up. I think that's somewhat what they play with the drop coverage scheme at times, but the issue is with that just plan and game plan, perhaps in general, is Golden State's offense is predicated on relying on the system. Steve Kerr, and I use basketball socialism here, is an advocate of relying on the system, and that system gets a lot of his players very, very clean looks from the perimeter. And I think if for Cleveland, it was over before it even soon started. Like, they were outscored 33-28, and then they kind of even things up. And then Golden State just kind of their foots on the throat of Cleveland in the second half. And sure, Darius Garland made it interesting. Sure, Evan Mobley had some exciting plays down the stretch and kind of woke up a little bit. But like, the Cavs were just flat wire to wire. And you wonder if maybe there is the inverse of an emotional hangover from like that Donovan Mitchell 71 pointer, where it's an emotional hangover because you have a super frustrating loss in Memphis the other night. They just didn't come to play. And I agree with you. I agree with JB. Like, the Cavs got what they deserved. They didn't respect Golden State from the perimeter and the fact that they're a 3-point oriented team. And also, if you're the Cavs, it's just, you don't really have the personnel at the end of the day to pace with Golden State when they're hitting 3-pointers like that, because Kevin Love's shots, I mean, sure, he was 3 of 4 from the 3-point line tonight, but like, it wasn't falling. Darius Garland was 3 of 11. You're missing 10 attempts flat from without Donovan Mitchell out there. Like, Karis LeVert being your leading 3-point scorer isn't going to be happening on a night-to-night basis for Cleveland. And they just couldn't keep pace with the Warriors through this game. And like you said, they made it a little close in the fourth quarter, but it felt like just a case of too little too late when the Cavs kind of woke up a little bit in the last 5-ish minutes or so in the fourth. And it's just a bad game. And now, like you said, this is going to be a 10-minute vignette. I'm morbidly curious to see what the mood is heading into the game against Milwaukee on Saturday, and just kind of how Cleveland responds after getting embarrassed on their home floor like this.
I think kind of, for me, the thing that stands out is some of the, I think this was a pretty sloppy performance. I think you had, there's a lot in this, there's a lot of plays you could pick that really exemplify, I think, where this goes wrong. I mean, you had in the fourth quarter or late third, I can't remember which, Karis LeVert is getting into the lane and he has a pretty open floater, and he goes for the lob for Jared Allen at the dunker spot, and the ball goes out of bounds and it's a turnover. You have Darius Garland, when it's like a 4-point game, dribbles off his foot and commits a turnover, and like there's not really a push to get back with 4 after that. Like, yes, you can look at the 3-point shooting for the Warriors and be like, oh, this is crazy, and yes, teams have gotten hot from the Cavs or whatever. Warriors shot 53.5% from the field. The Cavs like had a good shooting night of their own, 42.4% from 3, but like had, there's a math problem in the number of threes Golden State makes versus the number Cleveland makes, and that's maybe a discussion we should have this week about the Cavs' like ability to get into kind of compete in games like this at times, or they have to deal with this. But I think there was just some real sloppiness. Like Garland has 13 and 10, but like had kind of in 4 turnovers, but like some of those turnovers were really costly moments, and they were kind of forcing things. Evan Mobley, I thought, had at times a very sloppy defensive game. Like he got beat on some switches and beat on some splits from Golden State that really like just saw him like leave the paint. Jared Allen, who has been very good at switching this year, I thought really struggled early in this game to like step out and defend the 5-out stuff with JaMychal Green at center. And like really they had issues with kind of every little bit of this. This was not like the Cavs that I think we're used to seeing oftentimes, right? Like this was not a polished team. This was not an effortful team. This was like a team that kind of like, I think, seemingly expected to beat a Golden State team that was out without most of its really, really high end players, and kind of paid the price for it. And we're just entirely sloppy. I guess Ty Jerome hits some like nut shots that if he makes those, like good on him. Like you're maybe just going to take the L in this one. But there's things about this game that felt controllable that they didn't control.
No, I think that's a spot on way to put it. Like it was very much within Cleveland's control to win this game. They certainly could have set this tone early and kind of just imposed their will on let's just be frank, the part of the Santa Cruz Warriors and the reserves for Golden State, and without James Wiseman, not John, Andre Iguodala out there either. So like they're missing 2 key reserves in that as well. So I jokingly told my fiance going into this game as I left the house today that like it'd be stunning to see the Cavs lose this one, just because like it just feels like a very easy game for them at the end of the day. And I feel like just the around it, like heading in, is like, yeah, the Cavs should have this one in the bag, but they didn't. And I don't think it's too concerning if you look at it in the macro sense, just because it's such a long season and there's so much can change between now and March or April when the playoff hunt starts to begin. But it's very clear like the Cavs do need Donovan Mitchell on nights like these. Like they need a guy who will just consistently get them offensive looks and buckets and things like that. And just I think the fans that are kind of like riding and dying with every single game, like this is not going to be a very fun exercise for you at the end of the day, because it just sounds emotionally exhausting to put all your stake and free will into the game. And it's tough. I think would you say this is the ugliest loss of the season for Cleveland?
That was going to be my kind of final question of this, because I do think this is the worst, ugliest loss of the season. Like, you have, I think the Kings load Ross was tough. I think the Kings like kind of game where like the media session afterward very short and they were very curt, and that was bad. But I think just considering there's no Steph, there's no Draymond, all of that stuff, I think to me this is by far the ugliest loss of the year. And on that note, it's like he didn't play tonight because they're playing it back to back and everything. But like I even felt like, Evan, if like Ricky Rubio plays in this game, the stabilization and calmness they were screaming out for someone other than Darius Garland to kind of control the pace, to be calm and kind of composed with the ball in their hands. Like that would like Mitchell, yes, would be like the best answer for that. But even if Rubio had played in this game, it's like you get one of those guys, and I think they almost like maybe things are a little bit different.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, there's only so much Ricky Rubio that's still not 100% can give you at this point, but I think just his presence would have an impact.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. Like, think about what we've seen from him already since he's been back, and like just that little like feel he seems to give them would just be, I think, would have been really, 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 really needed, because this game was like out of control from the get-go, and like they needed something to just like settle them down and kind of get them kind of actually like trying, and it just never happened.
Yeah, I see. We're on the same page with that. For me, I think it's a little bit of, I needed Darius Garland to be a little more selfish in this game. Like Garland all throughout the night when he was on the floor, and he only sat for 8 minutes in this one, like was consistently looking to get his teammates involved on every possession. And like he would sometimes bail them out with like 9-on-1 triples, as John Michael would put it. But I needed to see Darius Garland maybe step up and say, like, you know what, my teammates don't have it. I have to put them on my back tonight and get them in it. And you saw it again, too little, too late. Like you saw it in the last few minutes where like Garland just started taking over on offense and just kind of like dominating the possessions and things like that. And I just think I need more of that, maybe a little bit less of like Karis LeVert isolations or Karis LeVert throwing an inadvertent lob pass to Jared Allen in a tight situation in the quarter. Like there's just a lot of questionable decisions at the end of the day. I know folks are somehow calling for JB Bickerstaff's job. And again, I think you're getting too caught up in just like maybe this Memphis loss and the last loss, but there's a lot of small frustrations with this Cavs team and they're still not perfect today. They still have their flaws and concerns. And to Chris's point, like you need a guy other than Donovan Mitchell maybe to emerge just as a consistent option, either calm the Cavs in these situations or maybe shoulder some of that load offensively to help balance out Darius Garland a little bit. I don't know. It's just, I have quiet criticisms, but it's an ugly loss. You have to just shift your focus and now look at Saturday's game against Milwaukee instead.
Yes. All right. That is going to be it. The Saturday edition of Locked On Cavs. We'll be back after Cavs Bucks for that one. So stay tuned for that. Please subscribe and hit the notification bell on YouTube if you have not already. I'm Chris. That's Evan. Cavs lose. We talked about it. Back after the next one.